So this is going to be the definitive guide on opening up your own repair shop from scratch. The definitive guide. And here's the first thing you absolutely need to consider. Don't do it. Anyway, let's read this. Okay, I'm looking for some advice here. I'm a tech that currently works for an independent repair shop. I have the drive and ambition to go out on my own. But where I live, real estate is very expensive. I also live in a snow climate, so mobile tech just won't cut it for me. How have you guys found a brick and mortar that didn't drain you or your life savings? Most buildings around me are about $4,000 a month in rent. Starting out, that's a tough pill to swallow. It's $12,000 just to get keys to a place, and most are triple net. Any improvements would be on me as well. What have you guys found to get a space up, put up, or a hoist, or maybe two that doesn't require a 5-year lease and aren't triple net?
Can I put in my 2 cents just on the comment or question? I was really lucky because my parents offered me a space. Well, they didn't really offer it. I kind of took it, but they had a space I could use, and I started the shop. And I started it with nothing. And this amazing human being, Tony Davis was his name, Snap-on dealer. And Tony really worked to help me become a shop owner, right? Like it was far beyond he was my tool dealer, right? This dude taught me a lot, and I'll be forever grateful. But if it had not been for those two openings where some people were trying to help me, and Tony didn't even know me when he started coming out there to help me, right? He was like, I see your situation, let me help. The drive is quickly squashed by the challenges. Okay. And I know that sounds horrible, and I know you don't understand my drive, you don't understand my desires, you don't understand my work ethic. Good friend of mine, John, right? He went and started his own shop, and he called me a while back, and he said, dude, this is falling apart, and I don't have any money. And I said, I understand. And he said, I can't keep doing this. This is killing me. This is so stressful. And I said, right, I understand. And he said, what do you mean you understand? You've got this big shop and all this stuff's working. I said, that doesn't go away. That challenge is always there. It's just bigger bills, right? That you're not going to get away from some of these challenges. They're always going to be there. And I said, I understand this feeling of it killing you, of it squashing you, because we come into this and the passion is to fix cars, right? And it's, I'm a good tech, so I can earn good money if I start my own thing, and I can be the one making the money fixing the cars. And you don't realize, especially as a one-man band, it's very, very difficult to generate enough revenue just to pay your taxes and pay your bills and pay all the things you have to have and have the same level of security, right? My manager and I, and we're very blunt and very honest with each other. And I've told you about this. We had a differing of opinions over something, and it was more a miscommunication than anything else. And I said to him, I need you to hear me say something. And he said, what? I said, if this falls apart and we ruin the reputation and the business ceases to exist, you can go get a job tomorrow. I can't. I still have to pay the bills. And so I don't think many folks, when they make this transition and go into this, understand the gravity of the situation. And they don't understand that this isn't about fixing cars. It's about owning a business. And I don't want to discourage people from following their dreams and doing what they want to do. But it would be unethical for us to stand up here and say, oh man, that's your dream. Go get it, boo. Go do it. Without saying, hey, there's some pitfalls in the pathway to get to success with this.
Here's the issue is most of the time, the tech that is saying this is I've got great ideas guy. Mm-hmm. They're the guy that they listen to the shop owner say stuff or the manager or whatever. And in their mind, they're thinking, man, I've got a good idea for this. And sometimes they voice the idea and no one listens.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I could fix this so fast. I could do this. I could do that. If you would just listen to me. And they really think that they've got great ideas.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And here's the thing. They may be great ideas, but what they lack is perspective.
Yep. I was getting ready to say that exact
They
thing.
don't know
Yeah.
if that shop owner's already considered or has already tried that.
Yeah.
And it's always like, dude, you have no idea what you're saying. You have no idea what you're saying. Here's a perfect example of this. I don't know how often I get these flipping texts that walk up to me and they go, hey, I've got a Toyota, I've got a Chevrolet, I've got a Ford sitting at the shop. They've all got approved work. The Ford has been there the longest. And in the tech's mind, they're going to go, hey, I'm going to fix that Ford first. It's been here the longest. Makes sense, right? That seems logical.
Yep.
Except that the Chevrolet and the Toyota are both $3,000 jobs, and I can get them both knocked out in about
Faster
6 to 7 hours.
Yep.
And that Ford is $6,000, but it is going to sit there for 2 days. 2 days, going to tie up a bay, 2 days fixing that $6,000 repair. And they're thinking, well, yeah, let's get started on this $6,000 job, knock it out. And you're going to push back 2 cars that could generate the same amount of money that are going to be sitting there that could go today. That doesn't make any sense. I need the money now. I need to get the cars turned over. And then after we clear some cars out, let's pull it in and knock out that 2-day job.
The experience.
The experience. They don't get it. They're looking at it
because
going,
they don't have the
doesn't make any
experience.
sense.
Because they don't have the experience. They've not been there. They've not seen it. Dude, I'm telling you, this resonates so much with me. When
they don't look at the bank account and go, hey,
when I hired Chris,
the lifeblood of this business, the only reason why we can open up today is because we have cash flow. Yep. Cash flow is king. That's it. That's all that matters. I have to have cash flow.
Look, I'm telling you, this resonates so much with me because when I hired Chris, he comes in as a manager. Now, I backed off maybe a little more than I should have. Okay. And he started making changes. And now I kept saying to him, I'm like, Chris, I'm going to tell you something. We do some of the things that we do because we have long-term experience with this business and how it operates. And so over time, you begin to learn there's things that do and things that don't work. I'm willing to let you try whatever you want to try, but we need to be precise about the changes we make. We need to have a documentation. We made this change. Here's what's happening with this change. Here's how we're going to track this change. We don't need to make too many changes because then if you make a bunch of changes, you don't know what you broke, right? And so we were talking about this, and then a couple weeks later, he comes to me, and he's 2 months in, and we sat down and had this meeting the other day, and he's like, dude, this is not working. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know. He's like, well, yeah, I was kind of trying to tell you that wasn't going to work, right? But like, he came in and he was proud and he knew he had the solution, but he didn't have the experience and the perspective to understand why the solution wouldn't work, right? And so it took some hard conversations. And I think the biggest thing for these guys who want to start a shop, and it upsets a lot of people when we say this, but like, you need money. You need a business plan. You need to understand how to run a business.
No, the business plan, squash that thing.
No. I'm not talking about a business plan like the bank
Everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face. And
that's true.
Okay, well, there you go. Life will hit you in the face, and that plan will go right out the door.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Have you ran a shop? Yes or no? No. Yep. You've only been the tech? Yeah. You haven't looked at the bank account, the P&L. You don't know about the marketing. You don't know how to convert sales leads. You don't know how to sell the work. You don't know how to create the estimate.
You don't know how to convey value.
You don't know how to convey value. You don't know how to price structure. You don't know any of these things. But you're going to just go out and do it. That's how that works? No. Hey, I want to rebuild this BMW. Have you ever worked on a BMW? No. Have you ever done an engine? No. But I've worked on cars. I should be able to do this. Okay, that's what you're going to start out with? The flipping BMW? You're going to do chains on a W8? That's what you're going to go do?
Oh, no, man, that sounds awful.
That's what they're saying. It is the stupidest thing in the world. Look, it drives me nuts. There's a comment on here. I'm going to read it to you real quick. You set me off. Sorry.
I appreciate it because, but here's what I don't appreciate. I don't appreciate all the people who are going to come back and say that they have listened to this recording and say that they have been demoralized by it, that it's unfair, and that we have killed their dreams, and it's really not what we
Get a
say.
different dream. Get a better dream. Get a better dream. Listen to this. If $4,000 a month is concerning to you, maybe consider if shop ownership is really what you're looking for. If you do everything right, you won't drain your savings. If just one thing doesn't work out, you possibly could. Working for someone decent has many upsides. $4,000 a month for rent will end up being your smallest bill to pay in the long run. There's much more bill paying fun for you on the horizon if you keep moving forward. I started in my garage at home, moved to an unmarked garage in a location that didn't allow auto repair to be to my current shop. It was all wasted time until I got my current shop on a main street with good traffic and really got to it. Remember, enjoying fixing cars and owning your own shop are two completely different things. Make sure this is really something you've committed to. There's many days in my ownership that remind me of the benefits of working for someone else and just leaving at the end of the day. Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic
Beautiful.
comment. How does he respond? $4,000 a month to start off is a huge expense. Not everyone needs to start out in a $4,000 a month building. Back corner of a shop big enough to fit 2 to 3 cars and one hoist is all that's really needed. People have done it. I just want to know how. Here's the stupidity of that reasoning, okay?
Dude, it's awful.
This is
that is the most ridiculous thing ever.
essentially saying people have climbed Mount Everest without oxygen. Right. People have climbed Mount Everest without oxygen. I just want to know how. I know it can be done. People have done it. And so I don't understand why you need all this equipment, you need all this training, you need all this conditioning, you need to be able to acclimate yourself to the out. I don't understand why you need all this.
Could you do me a favor?
I think I can climb Mount Everest without any oxygen. And here's the thing. You know what you have to go by, what you have to pass? You know what you have to pass?
What do you have to pass
on Mount Everest on the way up?
What?
Dead bodies.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Piles of dead bodies that have been frozen in place and cannot be taken down. They are there forever. Somebody that just sat down, fell asleep, dead. Hey, and you know what you're saying? I don't need to pay attention to the dead bodies. That's not going to be me. I'm going to be one of the people that make it.
Listen, thanks to ChatGPT, we can find out really useful information very fast. And so let's just quantify this with data. As of December 2024, over 340 people have died attempting to climb Mount Everest, the world's highest mountain. These fatalities have attributed to various causes, including avalanches, falls, exposure, health issues, and related to high altitude conditions. Notably, the 2023 climbing season was among the deadliest, with 17 climbers losing their life. Additionally, the challenging terrain and extreme conditions often make recovery of the bodies difficult, resulting in many remaining on the mountain. In recent years, melting glaciers have begun to reveal some of these bodies, prompting recovery efforts.
There's a famous one. There's a certain level of elevation, and the guy's I think in a green suit, and he had just sat down, fell asleep, dead. Right?
Yeah.
And they can't remove him. He's there because it's too far up. It's too far up. You'd risk your own life just to remove this dead body, so it just sits there. Anyway, they know they've hit that death zone when they pass this body because he's there forever. So they pass this body okay, we're entering the death zone from here on up. It's just the likelihood of death is just
you don't
really
understand my situation, and David, you really don't understand my abilities. You don't understand the drive I have, David.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's why we're going to make this the definitive guide. I don't want to just be like a downer and discourage absolutely everybody.
For sure.
Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. If you are a technician that is meticulous.
Yeah.
Meticulous. I'm talking you keep track of every single tool. You keep track of how much you spend on tools. You've got every receipt in a file folder. Your personal finances are planned out and structured. I put 5% into this account, 10% goes into retirement. Yep. I keep this back for tools. I keep this back for taxes. I set my day up on a daily basis. I get up at the same time. I eat breakfast at this time. I leave for work here. I give myself a 25-minute window. I'm always on time. I have never had a comeback. I can fix whatever you present in free because I have a process to everything I do. Okay, you're that technician. Great. Awesome. You've got step one. Your next step now is to get somebody to let you run their shop. You want to be a shop manager now.
Yeah.
I want to go in. I don't want to be a shop foreman, as in come to me when there's a problem with diag. No. I need you to be a shop manager. I need you to hire people. I need you to fire people. I need you to be able to look at payroll taxes, process them, look at compliance, look at environmental factors. Hey, this random health agency just showed up. What do? You need to be able to deal with all that. You need to be able to, who picks up the used oil? What company? How much does it cost? Is that factored into your overall cost? Do you charge a hazmat fee? What does pricing look like? You need to have all of those factors in place because you ran a shop for somebody else.
You don't even have to have them in place. You have to have awareness of those
awareness
factors.
And like the factors behind it. And should I be adding money? This, that, and okay. You have that now in place. Yes, I've been running a good, successful shop that's generating X amount of dollars, and it doesn't have to be high. It could be a $50,000 a month shop. That's fine. $50,000 a month, $100,000, $150,000 a month. And it has to be ran in the way you would want to run your shop. In other words, I'm not talking about Meineke. If you don't want to run your shop like a Meineke and you don't have everybody on flat rate, you're going to be open 7 to 7, 7 days a week. You don't want any of that nonsense. Don't run a Meineke because all you're going to do is try to run your shop like a Meineke because that's all you know. And that's not going to end up working out because I'm going to pay everybody's salary and yada. No.
This is a good spot to interject because this is something we're going through right now is that Chris came on as a manager and thought some of his experience from the dealer world would apply here. And he's come to me multiple times and said, dude, like the work we do here is really complex compared to what the dealers do. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm telling you, my best dealer techs couldn't have even thought about doing some of the things we've done here. They wouldn't even know where to start. And they're doing it on multiple different vehicles and they're doing testing. Like our dealer guys don't even do testing, man. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we sell diag, but like they plug in a code reader and they call the hotline and they change the parts. He's like, this is something completely different than what they do. I'm like, well, why? I don't understand. He said, well, man, he's like, you got to think we're not working on older cars. We're not having to do diag. And he said, they teach us to push the diag out. Like if it's something complex, they tell us to send it down the road. They don't even want us to work on it. Even if it is our brand car, they tell us to send it down the road. And he said that doesn't get said to the advisors and doesn't get said to the techs. But he said they have a different awareness of themselves. He said they think they are really solid techs. I'm coming here and I'm seeing this. They're not even techs.
Well, again, if you are the meticulous technician and you've got your work life in place, regimented and structured,
yes, yeah,
and you have your personal life, your personal finances, and you've got all that regimented and structured, and now you have had somebody let you run a shop for at least 2 years. 2 years at a minimum, just to get your feet wet. 2 years at a minimum. And you have a good grasp of financials. You know your P&L. You understand how to price things. You understand how to sell work. You understand estimating, KPIs. You understand those factors. The next thing you need to do is have $100,000 liquid cash. And then people come at me and they're like, I opened my shop with $5,000 in a dream. And I'm like, oh, get out of here.
I did too, boo.
And here's the thing. As a technician, if you are sitting on a huge toolbox, a ton of tools, the shop that you were working in made you buy everything yourself. And you've got 3 scanners, a lab scope, a huge toolbox with everything. And, 70% of your specialty tools, you got a ball joint press, something for like a hub puller or whatever, those are all yours. Okay, that's a good foundation. That's a great foundation. Start there. But you've got to have maybe not 100, but I don't know, $999,000 or $99,999. You got to have a chunk of money. Liquid, not, hey, I'm going to pull out of my retirement. No. You want to have that money, cash money, just sitting there liquid. Okay.
Yep. And your capabilities will dictate how long it sits there, right? If you don't have the capabilities, let me tell you something. Okay. I'm going to share some stuff about a situation I'm privy to that is not anything to do with my business, but you know about this situation. somebody very, very competent at one aspect of a business that I'm aware of, walked into that business and began to run that business. That business had multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank account. They didn't understand how to pay taxes, and they thought, well, if I just don't pay those, somebody else will pay those. But they didn't realize that they were legally responsible for paying those taxes. They didn't understand a P&L, and they didn't understand that, like, hey, you can project all you want, and you can say, look how much money I made. You can make $2 million a year and not take anything home, right? And so they didn't understand that. And they thought, as long as I just keep growing the revenue and as long as I keep making things better from my perspective, what I see to be the problem, that one day it'll all come together and it will be successful. The problem is you can't spend your way to success. And there are other aspects to success in a business that aren't just how much money you make and how much money you spend. There are abilities that you need. I'm going to tell you something. I made tax mistakes when I first started the shop because I didn't understand how to do it. And I'm talking to the tax people and I'm telling them what's up. And she said, Lucas, she said, I hate to tell you this, but like, you not understanding it doesn't make this go away. You still owe this money. And because you say you didn't understand it doesn't change that. And I'm sorry you don't have the money to pay it, but we're either going to have to shut you down. We could take you to jail, or you're going to have to figure out how to pay this. That was a wake-up call to me. And it wasn't that I was a big dummy. It was just I didn't know how to do that particular thing. And the same thing in this other business. And I mean, it's almost tanked the other business that I'm talking about. Like, the other business is on its last legs, days away from failure. And the ego and the attitude of thinking that I am capable of this and puffing your chest up and acting like you know what you're doing comes right before the fall. So if you go into this and you think, I know how to run a business, I know what I'm doing, I'm a technician, you ain't telling me nothing I don't know. Buddy, let me tell you something. You're going to have a rough ride. And I have seen more technicians in that exact scenario ruin everything for their family. I've seen them get divorced.
Oh, yeah.
And lose their kids.
And that's the other thing, too. It's like, here's the thing. If you're a single guy, you have a much, or a gal, you're in a much better shape than if you're married. If you're married with kids and then you want to go do this, good luck. You better have, that spouse better be making some good cash. Yep. That's the only reason why I was able to make it through. My wife makes good money.
You will destroy relationships. You'll destroy.
Absolutely. If your family's banking on you being successful.
Yeah.
Oh man. And here's the thing. Like, it's not just $100,000 for the business. You need $100,000 for the business. And that, when I say 100,000, that's going to be gone so fast. You have no idea. You have no idea how fast it's going to be gone.
You're used to getting a $3,000 paycheck, right? You're used to getting a $1,500 paycheck, and that money feels big to you, right? When you say $4,000 sounds like a lot of money, that money feels big to you, right? Let me tell you something. When we moved into this new shop, and I realized that I have $65,000 and $70,000 a month worth of mandatory bills that move through this place every single effing month. And one mistake, one miss of balancing that, I could go bankrupt just like that, right? I could get myself in a situation that it's a downhill slide and I can't recover from it. Mm-hmm. You know?
And it's so easy. It's so easy to do. So it's not just that money that you have to have aside. You also need to have that personally as well. Mm-hmm. You need to have a year's worth of salaries sitting there waiting for you. And here's the thing, and it doesn't need to be a year's worth of salary. It just needs to be a year's worth of household expenses. And you need to not be in debt personally. Like, no car payment.
Yeah.
If you do have a house payment, it's manageable. And then, like, no credit cards, no, hey, I've got this furniture loan because I wanted a new couch. And none of that. All that's got to be gone. That's all got to be gone. And you've got a year's worth of household expenses sitting there waiting, and you've got $100,000 in cash liquid. And then what that gentleman said about finding a good location, then that becomes A1 priority,
Yes.
paramount. And
Yes.
here's the thing. If you really want to do it from scratch, fine, whatever. But you still got to find a really good location. You have got to find a good location. I cannot look. Every single shop that has succeeded being in some back corner in a warehouse, no sign, and then people just showed up or whatever.
Exception, not the rule.
They are like a 1/10 of 1%.
Yep.
And most of the time, they were a specialty mechanic. They dealt with just BMWs and only M series BMWs, or they just did AMG Benzes, and they were well known in a niche community. And everybody just started bringing them those vehicles. If you are a general service, I fix whatever, good luck. You are going to have a huge problem on your hands because your next step is finding a coach and coming up with a marketing plan. And I'm sorry, that marketing plan is going to cost you, Lucas, you and I both just spend a ton of money on marketing, right? Is going to cost you $30,000 to $40,000 off the bat.
It's going to be 10% of all of your income. Right?
It's going to be 10% of all your income in perpetuity for forever, but it is going to be $30,000 to $40,000 that first year to get the website, to get your ads running, to get your postcards at $30,000 to $40,000 just to get your name out there that first year. And if you have
but David, you don't understand, man. The word of mouth, and I've already got some clients lined up.
Word of mouth. If you just do good work, they'll show up. Listen, if you're in a town of 1,500 people, and you're the only mechanic in town, then open up. You'll be the only mechanic in town. There's 1,500 people to pull from. You'll make a pretty good living. You'll make $100,000 a year working as your mechanic on your own and working whatever hours you want in some like hole in the wall shop. Like nobody's going to care because it's either that I'm in a town of 1,500 or I got to drive 20 miles to the next town to take my shop to a repair shop, to an actual repair shop. Fine, do it. Go nuts. You'll be fine.
Then they just overlook so much of this, right? How many guys do we see that come in here and they start as a one-man band? Well, they think I'm going to come in here and turn as many hours as I turned at the dealership. Well, they don't have the process, policy, procedure. They don't realize there's other jobs that have to be done in a shop too, and so they lose sight of that, and then that turns into 3 or 4 hours a day billed. And so now they think, well, gosh, but I'm charging $110 an hour, so that means that if I bill 3 hours, that's $330. No, right? Well, I sold parts, so I get to keep the profit from the parts. No, right? And when I was working with some of these people from this other business, right, and I was talking to them, I said, but you understand that like out of that 60% you make up top, when you come down the line, by the time you get to the bottom, you might be at 10 to 20% if you're really lucky. And then the tax man gets his cut of that. And so I don't think you understand, like you see that big number up top and you say, I can do $300,000 a year and I can survive. But you don't understand what it costs to actually run a business. You've got insurance, you've got marketing, you've got, all of these things, permitting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that you just never even thought about. This other business I'm talking about, they said, listen, for me to survive, the owner, for me to survive, I have to make $3,000 and some dollars a week. Otherwise, I can't survive. So what did they do? Well, they weren't making any money. They went and got loans to pay themselves.
Yeah. Well,
sooner or later.
It happens so often.
Dude.
I did it. You get in a bind. You're like, somebody walks up to you and says, hey, I'll give you $80,000. All you got to pay is $67 a day back. Yep. And you can have this $80,000. You're like, oh, that sounds great. I'm going to do so much money. And you get that money and 2 days later, the money's gone. And all you've done is paid some like vendors that have been past due and some taxes. And then you're like, okay, now I'm stuck with a $67 bill every single day. And I'm only making $150 a day because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing too, is like, it's not just, hey, I'm going to go put in my 8 to 10 and then I'm going to go home. No. You decided to open your own shop. So you're going to put 12 to 16 hours a day every day for the first
Whether
year.
you like it or not.
12 to 16 hours a day.
Optional.
Because as soon as you're done fixing cars, now goes back to paperwork, payroll, blah, blah, blah. Like, you got to reconcile your bank account. You got to do your bookkeeping.
Can we interject right here at this exact moment that even working for yourself, you can't pay yourself a 1099 as a shop owner? Like, you can't pay technicians 1099. Mm-hmm. You have to take taxes out of their paycheck. Mm-hmm. And so if you say, okay, well, great, David, I'm not going to be able to do that much by myself and be able to generate enough revenue to pay for the things that you say. So I would have to hire somebody. Well, you understand that the employer pays taxes on that pay too. And you understand there's a cost for doing the payroll, and that employees expect benefits, and that costs money. I just don't. You could sit down with some of these people and you could give them a P&L and you could go line by line by line, and they will argue with you about every single line because they're so passionate. They so want to do this. They have it in their head. This is the answer. This is the solution. This is what they want. I will never forget, on the tip of my tongue, and I'm glad I didn't because he's a big boy. On the tip of my tongue, I just about said F you to Rick White one time. And we're on the phone and we're talking, and he's like, I wanted this shop so bad. And he's like, absolutely not. That's a bad idea. And I wanted it so bad that I was getting ready to be like, F you, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm glad him and Alex both put their feet down, right? No, you're not doing this. I'm glad they didn't, because now I see what it would have cost me. I see what it would have done, and the business wouldn't still exist if I had done that. And I realized shortly thereafter that like I was so passionate about wanting to do it that I didn't see these like huge red flags all around me that were saying, this is a terrible idea. It's going to blow up.
That's what I'm telling you. You have to hire a coach at the beginning, because if you are going to fall in love with everything that pops up. Yep. Because if you are self-confident and you're ambitious and in your mind, I can make this work because I can make whatever work. You're going to fall in love with whatever. You're going to see the possibilities, none of the red flags, and you're going to go jump in, and it's going to turn into a disastrous boondoggle, and you're going to absolutely hate everything you did, and you're going to regret every decision you made. You're so mad at yourself going, why did I do this? I'm
watching it play out right now. I've got somebody that I know that the same situation I'm talking about. I'm going to go bankrupt. How am I going to survive? There's no way. This is not fair. Honey, life's not fair. Don't you understand that? Like, it never was fair. Money doesn't fall out of the sky. It takes work to obtain it, and you have to be smart about the money that you do have. You can't just be a dumbass.
And here's the other thing, too, is speaking specifically to the Facebook post. The guy is obsessed with the idea that, hey, I need to start like slow and small, and I don't want this to get tied up in a 3 to 5 year lease. It's like, dude, if you find the right place and you've got the money, you've got to have everything in place. Like I said, you've got 6 figures set aside, you've got a year's of expenses at home handled. You do not need to rely on the shop's income to pay your bills at home. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got the 100,000. You're out of debt for the most part, almost completely, other than the house. If you find the right place, and they're willing to sign a 10-year lease, 15-year lease,
buddy, you better take it.
Take it and run. What do you? Yep. I don't care. $4,000. You set the pricing in the lease. So you say, hey, it's $4,000 now. What's it going to be next year? What's it going to be 10 years from now? What's it going to be 15 years? It's structured. There's no surprises at that point.
If $4,000 for a lease feels overwhelming, you probably should not start a shop. Okay? If that feels overwhelming to you and you think you need to start small, because here's the problem with starting small, right? The piece of the pie, the size of the total pie, starting small as a one-man band is very, very small. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people have made it very successful, and they have very, very particular models that are built around what they do. David Felton is a perfect example of that. But even David, at this point says, dude, I can't take a day off and still get paid. Right? Like that money comes from somewhere. Let me ask you this, David. In your shop, when money gets tight, who doesn't get paid?
I mean, I never pay myself, so.
But you see what I'm saying, though, right?
That IRS? I don't pay myself.
But I mean, like, honestly, in my shop, if things get tight, and they still do, right? Like, somebody said the other day, they were like, I was sharing something I was frustrated about in one of the groups, and this guy gets on there and he says, he's a listener. He's going to talk about it. He says, man, I thought you had it together. And I said, well, I'm not talking about my shop, but no, I don't have it together. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, there are days I still can't pay the bills, boo.
I get this all the time. Like, they're like, you guys think you guys are good opera?
No.
At what point did we say we knew what the hell we were doing? Like, we are here trying to warn people. Don't do this. This is going to turn into a nightmare.
We have vendors who want to sponsor the podcast to highlight how terrible of owners we are. They want to use our terrible data to show you how awful we are, right? And I'm down for it, right? Like, I think though what we'll do is we'll set up some podcast episodes just with Chris, my manager, and let him explain this. I don't want anything to do with it. I had this planned all along when I hired him.
There you go. Can you explain 22% productivity? Well,
we suck. Sorry.
How'd you make money that week? Money? What? No, we didn't make money. Get out of here.
We don't have it either. I mean, look, dude. I have seen this from so many angles at this point. I think that's the one thing about the podcast and the time that I got to spend with Rick and learning about some of his clients and hearing about their stories, and the time I've spent with Cecil and learning about his clients and hearing about their stories. This is not abnormal. Okay? Struggling like that and fighting to survive, fighting just to make it is the normal.
Yeah.
And so
here's the thing, like, this isn't true of every type of business.
Yeah.
This is true of like brick and mortar. And then specifically, you're talking about a product that people do not want to have to spend their money on. Yeah. Nobody wants to fix their car. Nobody wants to fix their car. They want to modify their car. They want to paint their car. They want to put a sound system in their car. They want to put rims and wheels and lift kit and all that. They want to do that. Yeah. They do not want to put the water pump on, okay? And it's great that you know how to do it. And it's a great service that you provide, and you get them back on the road, and you're saving the environment by keeping the car. It doesn't mean they want it. And so you are fighting an uphill battle. On top, the consumer doesn't want what you have to offer. 1. 2, the amount of this piddly expenses required just to keep the business running. Yeah. You have it's just one thing after another, constant. And I'm not talking about electricity and water and wastewater and heat, and those are just basics. I'm talking like this. You got to buy this software. You got to buy that tool. You got to buy this lift equipment. You got to buy
to work on something that doesn't necessarily always go the way that we plan it to go. Like, things break. You know those little mini trucks. You know what I'm talking about? The right hand drive mini trucks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude, we've had one in the shop for 3 weeks, and it started as, hey, it needs a starter put on it, and took forever to get the starter. Guess what? Wrong starter. We get the starter back in it, and we've got a ton of money and time invested in this thing.
Yeah.
And then, the alternator's locked up. And so now we wait for alternator for 2 weeks, and then the bolt breaks taking the alternator out because it's open on the back and it's full of corrosion. And so now we spend 2 days getting the bolt out because it's part of the engine casing. We don't want to break that. On a test drive, the timing belt breaks. Now, we had wrecked a timing belt for it, but you got to think we're 8 to 9 weeks in on this. The estimates change 10 different times. We've got hours in it we can't bill for. It's not as straightforward as Tech C. You give me this job. I'm going to go do said job. I'm going to finish said job. Oops, something went wrong here. Do something about it. Okay, send it back to me.
Yeah.
You're going to pay me for fixing that.
Just go back to the customer and ask for more money. It's okay, but we've done that twice already. Okay, so go back a third time. How do you think that's going to go? How do you think that's going to go?
Yep.
You think I'm just going to be able to piss off this customer? Fine. They're going to pay or they don't pay, and then they tow this thing out. How do you think this is going to go?
Yep.
You don't think they're going to come back and try to sue me? They don't think, you don't think they're going to feel that I wronged them, even though I haven't, and try to sue me. Now I have to hire a lawyer at $250, $300, $400, $500 an hour. Who the hell's paying for that? I've got to pay $500 an hour lawyer to defend me against this frivolous lawsuit because I have to go back a 4th, 5th, 10th, 20th time because we just didn't foresee X, Y, and Z. No, you fucking eat it. Great. Now what? Who is going to pay for this?
Where does that come from?
Where does that come from?
And you know, that's such a cool perspective because I've been telling you about the thing with Chris and some of the changes and some of those things. And we sat down with Cecil the other day, and I talked to Cecil late the other night, and Cecil said, Lucas, you need to understand that for Chris coming from the dealer world, that like it was just the dealer, and they had millions of dollars to fight frivolous things, and where else is the client going to go for warranty work? Like, what else are they going to do about it? And so it didn't really matter if they maintained the reputation. Obviously, the ownership wants to maintain reputation, but like they didn't have to work hard to maintain their reputation and Google rating and all of these things. He said, but in a small town, a small shop, you do a few things that come off as wrong or shady, you can destroy your reputation. And it spreads like wildfire and everybody starts talking about it. So, you know, it's those things that we don't ever think about. And especially as technicians working in a shop, they're blind to those things. They don't see them. They don't understand them. And they don't understand the heartache and the feeling that it causes, right? I don't have to ask you if you lay awake at night when you get a 1-star review or something goes wrong. I remember when you got, I think it was 4 or 5 fake 1-star reviews from an ex of an employee of yours. And like that hurts. And even knowing that it's fake, even knowing they're not real, it's like I am depending on this business to feed my family. And this person does this to me. It eats you alive when you realize the cost, right? Because it's not just,
you
my
decide to
rating went
put your
down.
foot down and stand on principle. And this guy decides to go scorched earth on you. And they start blasting you on every social media channel. The Google review bomb the shit out. Look, I've got this old guy, this old man. We have done absolutely nothing wrong to this guy, okay?
Yeah.
He updates his 1-star review of my shop every 2 months just to push it back up to the top. Just to push it back up to the top. And I replied to him 2 years ago. I replied to him and I gave him blow by blow. I didn't give it 2 F's. I'm just going, hey, you brought your car in for this. We told you X. Then we told you Y. And then we recommended this. And then we told you this. And then you came back with this. And then everything, look, we went by the book. And it even got to the point where the guy insisted that he had a parasitic drain. We tested it. We took pictures of the test. We showed him that he didn't have parasitic drain. The battery's dead like through 2-3 weeks later. He's pissed off thinking that I screwed him over, right? And he demands that I pay him back. He's like, you ran that test, but obviously you didn't find something wrong with it. It's like, dude, but I still ran the test. And I showed you the results of the test. We did the work. We did the work. But you know what? Here's 130 back. Sorry, here's 130 back. Do you think that stopped them from leaving a 1-star review and updating it every 2 months? No.
Nope.
These people will go scorched earth on you when you decide to stand on principle and you're like, I did everything right. You are in the wrong here. You think that matters? You think that matters? It doesn't matter. They're going to go scorched earth on you and you're going to have to deal with the consequences. What then? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now, mister? I'm going to open my own shop. It's going to be great. I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to have a boat. Blah, 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 blah. Look, some people, if you are overly meticulous, and you keep your ducks in a row and you're very like tight on policy and procedure and things like that, and if you're like that and you've got the money, open your own shop. You will do great. You really will. Because you're gonna watch your P's and Q's. You're gonna like, hey, that's 15-cent bolt needs to go on the ticket. We have a system. You got to follow the system. You're gonna hold your staff accountable. If you're just like ambitious and you like to sell and this, that, and the other, do not open a repair shop.
No,
you know what you should
go
do?
a different direction.
Start a software company. You think Kieran, you think dude could open a repair shop? No. In his mind, he probably thinks he can, but I guarantee you that, hey, you're going to start with $5,000. no reputation in some random ass town, go open a repair shop and see how long you last.
See what happens.
Yeah. This is a multi-millionaire, has started 2 multi-million-dollar businesses, has sold them off, and he's like, what, 25? The kid is incredibly smart, ambitious,
Absolutely.
Hardcore entrepreneurial. Like he will be able to start almost every single kind of business, and I guarantee you that if you just corner him, like, could you? Not if you present the question as could you? Yeah, he's going to be like, well, yeah, because it's an ego thing, right? No. Would you? Is your first option in starting a business going to be a brick and mortar business with 18,000 little minor expenses that require employees, that require that the employees deliver with consistency a good product over and over and over again with 18,000 little variables and
that you likely can't control,
and that none of which you can control and still make money on the end? Is that the kind of business you're going to try to open? Hell no. I'm going to start another software company. I'm going to go sell social media, digital marketing. I'm going to go X, Y.
I watched a podcast the other day, and they were talking about the entrepreneurial movement, and the guy says, look, you need to hear me say that 95% of businesses will not be profitable until year 10. And he says, now look, you might put money on the bottom line and it might look profitable, but the thing is you have to now account for the sweat equity, right? You account for sweat equity, you account for what you invested, you account for all of the pieces of the puzzle, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the emotional toll it takes on you. And you tell me that business is profitable in 10 years, and he said, I'll tell you, you're full of shit. Yeah. Right? And so
there are a ton of like business gurus that they'll give you the list of of businesses that they would open, 5 businesses that they would open in 2025 or 2024, and 5 that they wouldn't. And every single flipping list is going to say brick and mortar retail. Every single one of them. Do not open brick and mortar retail. Yeah, it is the hardest thing. It's like that in restaurants. It's the hardest thing to make successful. And,
for sure.
And repair shops, especially. Look, if you're going to open up a retail brick and mortar business, but it's something cute and boutique and like people want it and stuff like that, okay, fine, go for it. You know what? You're going to be able to sell online and sell brick and mortar, and you're going to be able to make this work. When it's something that people don't want to buy, it's a crap. What do you expect to happen? People do not, even if you're a plumber, like, what are you buying? Like, they don't want to get their pipe fixed, but you know what? When they have a brand new sink or a really like nice little thing that they're going to do with their kitchen or whatever, they're happy to hire that plumber to come out and redo that. Like, they're happy to have the electrician come out and put in this brand new XYZ thing.
$100,000 remodel. $100,000 remodel. Like,
they'll be happy to spend it. And they'll be happy to spend it.
I watched this. I don't know if you've seen them on YouTube. I'm weird. I like to go find like entrepreneurial videos and watch these guys on their journey of starting a business or whatever it is. And somehow I got into this like group of guys who they all wanted to start a car wash. They all wanted to start a laundromat, all of these things, right? They were looking at that change mill type business. And one of the guys that just occasionally would pops up with this video, and he's like, I think I need to kind of tell the truth here, because there's all of these guys trying to sell this entrepreneurial vision of, I'm going to start a car wash. I'm going to buy a car wash, and I'm going to buy it on pennies on the dollar. And he's like, I just need to be honest with you guys. I bought the car wash. Well, the main laser wash thing messed up. He's like, that's $40,000. I got it moving, and then the county came in and said that I'd done environmental damage, and it cost me $120,000. I had to go get a loan to pay that. And then once I got that done, like, I had things moving, and I put the new grease trap they wanted in, and something went wrong, and I had to tear up the whole parking lot. And the contractor just looked at me and said, well, I'm like, sorry, I guess, but like, it's not our fault it went bad, so pay us. Right. And he said that they had made some sort of mistake or something. He said, so then I get everything going. And one night somebody comes in and breaks in and steals all the change receivers. He's like, it was probably only $5,000 worth of change that was in all the change receivers, but it was $46,000 to fix them. And he said, so like, I don't think people understand what's behind the scenes. And so if you've got $1 million in the bank account and you can absorb some of that, yes, over time this can make money, but it takes a long time for it to make money and to get things solidified and balanced out to where it's not a constant fight. And that's what I don't think that these people understand. You are getting ready to go in for the fight of your life starting a business like this, right? It is not easy. It is not fast. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen with a little bit of money. I can start it with $4,000. Great, buddy. I know you can start it for less than $4,000. We all know you can. There's no doubt that you can start a business for less than $4,000. Anybody can go start a business in North Carolina. It's like $120 to get your business license, right?
In Kansas, yeah.
Guess what? Anybody can do that. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you shouldn't do it, because even though you might not pay that out right now, over the course of the next 5 years, it's going to cost you way more than that. And if you're not comfortable with that right now, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're going to make yourself sick. Okay. I'm not talking about, this sucks, I feel bad about this. No, I'm talking about you will make yourself physically ill. You will give yourself anxiety. You'll give yourself depression. You'll give yourself ulcers trying to make something work that you did not have enough capital in to make it work in the long run. You're a whole lot better off for your sanity, for the length of your life, for the benefit of your children. I remember walking into the house before I went to ASTE for the first time. And I walked into the house and I looked at Alex and I said, I'm done. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I cannot do this. I'm not capable of this. And she said, I don't understand. And I said, this isn't working. Like I'm trying as hard as I know how to try. Mm-hmm. And it's not happening. And I come home and I yell at the kids. And at the time it was one kid, but I come home and I yell. I come home, I'm a shell of a human being, right? Like I cannot get all the things that went wrong out of my head.
And all the things you have to deal with the next morning.
Yeah. And like, I have to get up and do this. Like, no, do I want to? No. But I took that option away from myself because it's either fail and lose everything or get up and deal with it and figure out how we're going to get through it. Yeah. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've been doing this for 10 years and it is not working. Like I'm not getting any further or any closer to the goal of where I want to be. This is not working and I don't know what to do. Right? But that was at 10 years. I took years off of my life getting there. I borrowed money from my parents that it took me years to pay back. I hurt feelings and I damaged relationships. I did really terrible things to myself personally.
You jacked up your back.
Jacked up my back. The cost is not measured right now. When you go into business, you think if I have this much money, I go into business and there it is, I started a business. No. That cost is measured over the next however many years it takes to get you successful, and it does not happen overnight, and it does not matter how smart you are. It does not matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how great of a tech you are. There's no controlling this. All you can do is put the best systems, processes, policies in place that you can and fight through the struggle. And it's not easy. Anybody that tells you it's easy is lying to you. Yeah. And if you think that you're just that much smarter than everybody else and every other shop owner and everything else, it's kind of like if you're the smartest smartest person in the room, you are in deep shit. Yeah. You're in trouble.
I want to white pill this. I think we went a little too dark here. So I just want to give a little bit of a hope here. Yeah. If you want to do this, if you absolutely want to do this, you find a shop with an older owner that wants to get out.
Yes.
And you offer to run the shop at a discount. Go in and say, hey, pay me $25,000 a year, minimum wage, whatever you can afford. And say, I want to learn, I want you to teach me everything you know. I want to go through this coaching program. I want to do with this the XYZ with the idea that I will buy the business from you in 2 to 5 years, whatever it happens to be. If you can manage something like that, business is already established, building's already up, hoist's already in, tech's already in place, parts already getting ordered, and if you can find a place like that, you call 18,000 shops probably in your 10-mile, 15-mile, 20-mile radius, there's probably 18,000 shops you can call. You find a guy who's like, man, I'm looking for an exit plan. Become their exit plan. Go jump in,
100%.
run the shop for 2 to 5 years, and then and then could just come up with some kind of agreement with the owner where you start paying them a chunk of your profit every single month to pay the guy off.
Agreement on paper is what David
on paper,
means.
yes, on paper with a lawyer involved, notarized, the whole nine. Everything's got to be ironclad. And because you've committed to this now, this is a 2 to 5 year before I become the owner, and then I've got to pay this thing off, so it's going to be another 10 years. That's how much time you're going to put into this. That investment, and the business is already there and established, you can make that work. You can 100% make that work.
Yeah. Far easier financially to go that way than starting from scratch.
Well, now you're putting all of the weight on your shoulders and your abilities, and not on the ability to, like, I've got 100,000, but I can turn that into $1 million a year shop. No. Like, you need to be able to bank on yourself and your abilities and your self-confidence and your entrepreneurial spirit and all that garbage, but do it in a smart way where you have pushed off the financial burden on your abilities and on the owner, and the owner's just trying to get out. He's like, I'm happy to hand this over to you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that is the best way to do it. And this need to do it from scratch, this idea that we're somehow accomplishing something or doing something by starting from scratch.
Right into the sun.
What?
Yeet that into the sun. That idea. Yeet
it's
it
a
right
terrible,
into the sun.
terrible idea.
Gone.
Yeah. Terrible idea.